Well, Kyle, man, I'm glad you were to join me, man. Thanks for jumping on, and excited to talk to you a little bit.
Yeah, man, likewise.
So I guess I just want to dive in right away with you. Obviously, I've known you for a little while now, and primarily because of the content that you guys have been creating, you yourself. And so give me a little read on, like, when did you start creating the content, and what is, like, why were you doing it?
Yeah, so honestly, it purely started for fun. Just started drinking coffee, right? And then started drinking coffee with other people
Right
just on
with you.
camera. So, and it was like purely like a fun thing to do, but also like I knew that there was like the social media thing going on. And I'd been creating content on LinkedIn, just like everybody else. Like I was running out of ideas to create content. I was like sitting there, like trying to like think of, okay, what kind of video can I make today? Because like making videos and putting yourself out there to me is fun. I'd always made skate videos as a kid and hockey videos, and that was kind of like a lost art that I like, locked away in here. And then went to business school and just started doing the business thing. And I'm like, oh wait, I can bring these two worlds and make them collide, and I can do business related content on the internet and try to make it fun and interesting. So when I first started, the content was, in my opinion, kind of stale, kind of just boring. I'm just getting facts across, which you could actually Google yourself. So I had to add that like entertainment element to it. And at the same time of like trying so hard to create something versus, hey, I got an idea. Why don't we just drink coffee with people and have the camera on? There's an idea. and then we don't have to create content. Now we're just like, hey, who do you want to drink coffee with this week? Oh, let's drink coffee with Steve. And let's record it. And maybe there's content there.
Caught me mid-sip. Yeah, I mean, so we were talking kind of before I started recording. It's interesting that you mentioned entertainment, because I've been thinking a lot about this. I mean, I still look at what I do even now, a lot of the content that I'm putting out there, and there's just not enough to it. I think I mentioned to you, I'm going to try to be much more intentional with what I'm creating, but it is interesting just to kind of watch how things have evolved, because you don't want to be boring. You want things to be, very practical and usable for people. And I think years ago when I started doing podcasting, and then I stopped for a while, it really, like what we're doing now was enough. People built careers just on, because it was so new.
Right.
But as all these creators kind of get into the game, it's like, I think all the time to myself, like, how does this fit into my business? Because I'm not a talk show host, right? I'm not going to get paid to do this. So how does this apply to kind of what I'm doing? So I guess I'm curious for you, like what you're doing now. I mean, are you architecting how that fits into your existing business? And I guess two-part question to that is, as you evolved, how has your content creation expanded your network, your opportunities, and your business at large?
Yeah. So no, those are some great questions. And I mean, truth be told, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm building a plan on my way down. But one thing, like I'm just experimenting like day by day, taking it one day at a time. And I'm no better than anybody else at this. I'm just trying to figure it all out too, just like yourself. But I have noticed, like when I'll have like intentional guests that will be on the show that maybe nobody knows about. Like they're not like this world famous book writer. They're not this world famous career coach. They're nothing like that. They're just, hey, this is the guy down the street who I want to do business with, or who I already do business with, because maybe somebody that looks like him, that has a similar role to him, might watch this and actually might want to work with me. Sure. So I've done that, and I've actually gotten a little bit of business out of that. And just not just for the sake of business, but like I've built relationships with, like I've strengthened relationships with my customers, because I've actually had a customer on camera on a podcast. I already had a good relationship with him to begin with, but then I put him on the podcast, and it's just like another bond. He's like, Kyle, I've never been on a podcast. My wife loved it. We've listened to this 100 times now. Like this, like he loved it, and I was the first one to put him on a podcast.
Yeah.
So that was like, oh wow, light bulb, like that's crazy, right? So like he sees it as I did something nice for him. I see it as he did something nice for me, because he actually got on the show. But like he sees it completely opposite. He's like, no, Kyle, you put me on, and I appreciate that. So like that's building relationships, and it's helping create connections that might not have been there, because, a handful of people will reach out to me and say, hey, I saw your show. I love it. I love what you're doing. Keep on going. And like those little words of encouragement, like, yeah, I'm not going to be a professionally paid Jay Leno talk show host. I know that. Well, you never know. We don't know anything for sure, right? But that's not really my goal. Like, I'm not trying to be the next late show host. I'm just a guy out here trying to figure out business and life and just having fun interviewing some people that are cool along the way. So I think to do so intentionally would be to intentionally seek out the guest that would be your client.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that's how this evolves. I think that's how it has to evolve, because then if the guest looks like your client, then maybe, just maybe, the ideal client that you have might actually watch that show, right? Plus, the client you have on the show as your guest might have a better relationship with you, might build a better relationship with you, and you strengthen that bond as customer and client owner relationship.
Yeah, I don't think you can understate that. I mean, years ago, I was doing it mostly with print, well, not print, but blogs and articles and stuff like that. And we called it reflective marketing for whatever reason. It just seemed like it had a nice ring to it. So we called it reflective marketing. But it's interesting because what you're doing, I think there's a huge advantage to that, particularly if you can get your customers to be comfortable on camera and comfortable sharing some of their insights and being very authentic with it. Like, it can go a really, really long way, because as you and I know, we kind of live this content world, and it's always interesting to me when I go into environments where people are not as active and paying attention to this stuff as people like you and I may be, the lack of awareness. I was at a thing about a year ago. It doesn't matter what it was for, but it was targeting chiropractors. And one of my buddies was up there giving a presentation, and he got to landing pages and lead capture. And this was a year ago. And you would have thought like he just gave them the secret to everything, like something that's so common to people that live in our world. But it would have been the same if they had mentioned something to their peers about chiropractic. And I'd have been like, what is that? And maybe like, you don't know what that is? So I guess the thing of it is, like, when you do give these people, especially if they're a client, an opportunity to put themselves out there and give them exposure, done correctly, it does wonders. Because one, you're giving them exposure. It's free advertising in essence. A lot of times, like what I'll try to do when I do it is spoon feed them exactly what to distribute as well. Like, here's the file, here's what I would do with it. Because then they promote it, which, it's a win-win there. But if you can also get them to dive deep on their business and kind of apply how you were a part of that success, like, it's a great strategy. And, it's very smart, man.
Absolutely. And I think the ingredients are really simple and they're easy to overlook. And that is, instead of like trying so hard to create, like, it's literally just like documenting what you're doing. But like, it's that dumbs it down, but that people still have a hard time. Like, okay, well, what am I just like video of myself drinking coffee all day and like sending emails? No, you gotta, I mean, maybe, but and who are we? We're not the market police. The market speaks for itself. So if the market likes watching you drink coffee all day or just sit silently, then hey, I mean, who am I to judge? If people are watching it, then there's value there. But but because you're documenting and creating, now you can put yourself into interesting situations. You can prospect differently. Instead of prospecting saying like, hey, do you want to be my customer? You can be like, hey, I have this show. I think you'd be a great fit for it. Can we talk?
Yeah.
And if everyone in your market is prospecting like, hey, be my customer, and you're prospecting like, hey, check out my show, please. I think you'd be a good fit for it. And here's why. That's different. You already stood out differently.
Yeah, no, totally. And one of the things that I've really enjoyed, like, as I've been connected to you, watching you, like, you've been very, I don't know if aggressive is the right word, but, you're very much trying all these new things on the fly. And I like watching you try them. And so, definitely one of the new things, and I know I want to talk to you about it, you've been doing the LinkedIn Lives. Which is pretty new. I don't even think that they've rolled it out to everybody yet.
No.
But live video in general, right? LinkedIn is one. Obviously, Facebook has it. I guess if you can walk us through, well, A, how are you using it? Like why live versus recorded? Like what is the benefit there? What are you seeing from that? And then B, I'm always loading you up with these, A, B, C questions.
Yeah.
How are you doing it? Like from a technological standpoint, like how are you setting that up?
Sure. Yeah. I don't see anybody doing any live podcasting. Maybe, I'm sure it's happening, right? Like, hey, we're podcasting, like you and I are podcasting right now, but this is being recorded. So like if we screw up, which I don't think you're that type of guy that's going to even edit our screw ups, but like, let's say we are those type of guys.
Yep.
We screw this up. We say something that we're not supposed to say. We do this. Now you can go back and edit that podcast. You can polish it up. You can make it sound like super pristine. I can do the same thing with a live show after the fact, but while we're live, we are engaging with you in a way that we can't do on like a recorded podcast. Like literally, like if you're out there watching us on live and you actually want to be a part of this, like I have a segment called Dialed In, which I think I'm turning that into actually a full show on its own now because it's been so popular. Like, and the concept is super simple. It's the radio. You call in, but you're calling into a live show. We've been doing this for years. But now doing it on LinkedIn, on live video, there's something about it, man. This gentleman, and I'll share his name because it was live. I mean, you can't hide from live, right? Gentleman, Alex White, called in, and I was just doing like this test, like dialed in. He called in and he unloaded like his life story of like, man, I'm at the lowest point of my life right now. I just needed to talk to somebody. I just need to talk this through. And like, it was super unexpected. And that could only be done on a live show. Like that unexpected moment. Like I told people to call in with tech. We're going to talk about tech today. First caller I get, like as if I'm a therapist, he calls in and he just unloads like the deepest, darkest time. And I sat there and listened to it and I'm fascinated. And I watched the viewership just like ticking up. Like, what the hell is going on here? Like, this is crazy. And at the end of that call, like he just said, Kyle, thank you, man. I just needed to get this off my chest.
Yeah.
And that created a space. It created this space that, unlike, traditional radio show maybe where like, be caller number 6 and you're going to get these tickets. Like, okay, well, yeah, whatever. But no, I was like, hey, just call in if you want to. And it was just like an open forum. And it was cool. It was wild. And then back to your point, it's live, man. So there's no editing. I mean, I'm editing while we go. So like I'm literally live DJing. So this kind of goes into the tech behind it. Like I'm literally doing most of it from an iPad. I'm tech DJing with, camera 1, camera 2, as I'm doing it here on Zoom. So the same thing, I'm just live DJing what I want you to see as the audience and trying to give you the full picture, trying to keep you engaged by constantly switching things up and constantly changing cameras back to show my guest versus showing me, right? So I'm just constantly doing that as a way to bring you in even more and make it not as stale and boring, even though I got this boring white wall behind me that I'm going to change soon, right? So it's just like I'm using apps to get this done, and there's no right or wrong way. I'm just a science experimenter in this. It's pretty sweet. Every day I'm adding something to it. If you watch the show, which is every Wednesday at 10 a.m., if you do tune into the show, you're going to notice something different every time because I can't leave it alone. I have to tweak. Yeah. I have to. I'll wake up at 3 in the morning and I'll add something, and I'll just go. I love it, man. I mean, it's so cool. What are you using for the camera changes? Well, I want to be careful. I want to be careful there because I'm using one thing, but I'm going to use something else tomorrow, which is tomorrow's Wednesday. So I've been using Switcher. Got it. Switcher Studios. I love Switcher Studios. It's an app. It's an app. It's relatively expensive, depending on who's looking at it, what you pay per month to use this app. And for people that are just getting in the game, absolutely 100% hell yes. Get onto something like Switcher. There's a bunch of these apps, but Switcher works with LinkedIn right now, but it works with other things too. So if you're streaming on Facebook, you can use Switcher. If you're streaming on YouTube, so what I've done recently is I've kind of started using a service called Restream, and now I'm streaming literally everywhere. I saw that. So I'm streaming everywhere all at once. That's incredible. Yeah, I just started poking around with that, Restream, and it just,
I mean, you're way more technical than I am at this stuff. You know, it's a little over my head. I got to dive a little deeper, but man, at face value, I was like, what is this? It's crazy. So right now we're on Zoom though.
The stuff that I'm doing tomorrow is going to be even more wicked, man.
Is it going to be cool? Yeah, I'll have to plug that and get.
Because I found a way to like add animated logos, and I found a way to do like animated transparent videos, like GIFs basically, but transparent GIFs that I can throw on top.
Sweet.
And then it's super early, but I'm messing around with like pulling in LinkedIn live comments.
Yep.
Because you know my audience is on LinkedIn, so
yep.
I'm streaming everywhere. There's like 2 people on YouTube watching me, 0 people on Facebook watching me, and Periscope is funny. Like Periscope, all of a sudden 10 people showed up. I don't know how Periscope actually works, but like it just people found it. I don't know how.
Yeah, it's super interesting. So right now we're on Zoom, but you're still doing the camera switch over.
Yeah.
Like, is that just changing the feed?
Oh, I'm just doing it in Zoom right now. There's a little video icon in Zoom that you can just, depending on how many cameras you have connected to your computer, you can just keep on switching it. So like this right here, this is the camera. This is the Sony A6300 in webcam form. And then when I switch over to this Logitech webcam right here, then I can show you the actual camera that's sitting right there. Oh, so I'm literally just switching to it.
That is really slick, man.
Yeah.
Really
and then
slick.
then I got the really bad FaceTime. Oh no, the FaceTime camera's not going to work. Never mind. I'm using an extended monitor. I won't even do that. It'll just be a black screen if I switch to that. But yeah, with Switcher, I'm able to I actually use iPhones. So this would be my other camera.
No kidding.
Yeah. So this is the exact room that I'm doing the show tomorrow. It's the first time I'm doing it with a guest in here. I've done it with guests remotely, but literally I'm gonna have myself probably here and the other guest there, and this camera is gonna be pointed to them like so on this side, right? So I'm gonna be able to like camera 1, camera 2, like switch back and forth. While I'm talking, it's on me. While he's talking, it's on him. And I'm just literally tapping on my iPad, like literally. Tap, 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 tap. It's so easy. So easy.
That's so crazy. So as you guys evolve with the show, like right now, you're creating content, a lot of interview content. I mean, are you doing that? I know we just talked about kind of with intent, but is there are you mapping this out for? I guess a better way to ask it. Do you sell through it, like calls to action to like? If you're looking for this, or do you just leave it as is? I mean, how do you take it from content, message, interview to, eventually some type of transaction with people that may be interested?
See, I haven't actually done that, but I've gotten a couple customers just because they've taken an interest in me, because they took an interest in the show, and they're taking an interest in me, and they're like, Kyle, what do you do? Then I tell them what I do, like, oh, I actually kind of need that service, and then that was it. So. But at the same time, I'm not against selling through it. So that's something I may experiment with in the future. But I don't want to create a 3 a.m. infomercial of why you need to buy these copper-plated pans. So I don't want that. So it's a very fine line. And Gary Vee is somebody that I look up to. I know a lot of us look up to him. But like he says it best, man. You want to be the show. You don't want to be the commercial. Yeah. Be the show, not the commercial. Yeah. By being the show, that's how you get influence. People want to be educated and entertained. They don't want to, like, the second we know we're being sold to, whoosh, shields up. All right, I'm out. Next, let's see what Steve's up to, because Kyle's trying to sell me something that I don't need. Like, I don't need a phone system. I don't even own a business.
Yeah.
Well, and arguably you could say, well, then don't watch my show, because I'm trying to sell phone systems to people who own businesses, and that's why I want to watch the show. But you don't want to just be selling all the time. So But you got to come in with that right hook every now and then and ask for the sale in a way that you do it. The way that I'm doing that is I'll do it with other videos. So my live show, I'm going to keep that in an interview series, but I might release a video on a Monday that's about, hey, here's like the 6 reasons why your internet sucks at your office.
Yeah.
Oh, and at the end of that, oh, by the way, I sell internet services. So just in case you need somebody and you don't have anybody, I could hook you up. But I gave all that value first. Yeah, so that's how I would do it.
Yeah, I think we're in the same boat there, and it's interesting where I see a lot of companies getting not tripped up, but it's the fear of actually sharing it, right?
Yeah.
So to your point, you don't need to sell it. I mean, even what you've done just here on the Zoom, there's a lot of people that wouldn't want to share that, which is to their detriment. I think when you come out and you share, so I tell my clients and my peers all the time, it's like, I can tell you exactly what I do, A to Z, no problem.
Yeah.
It just like you could, or any business can for that matter. And yeah, some people that are really sophisticated and very talented, maybe they go run with it. Awesome, right? They're going to know you gave them the kind of the momentum to do that. That's fantastic. You got to be okay with that.
Yeah.
But the majority, I mean, the large majority are going to want to know how you're doing it, want to have an expert handle it. And yeah, I mean, because you're creating the content, you get the business as a byproduct.
Right.
And I can tell you right now, like what you're doing, just as we're spitballing, I mean, looking at how you are creating this show, right? For me, like I'm watching that and literally I'm kind of like, okay, Kyle, how much is it going to cost me to have you set this up for me? You know what I mean? Because I see, what you're doing it well. You don't have to sell me anything. Like, it's an inquiry. Like, dude, can you do that for me?
Dude, it's funny you said that, because I've had requests about that. I'm like, that's great. I'll tell you exactly what I'm doing for free, because that's not really my business model. But like, I'm getting, not so many. I've gotten like 6 requests. I'm getting so many requests now. I got like 6 requests. Like, hey, Kyle, we pay you to consult with us on how to set up your live show?
Yeah.
Like, I'll just tell you how to do it. That's not really my business. But maybe it should be. I don't know. It should be.
Yeah, but it goes to show you though that like it works. Like when you actually let people see your expertise, whatever it is, you gotta let them see it. Most people are gonna be like, okay, man, that's amazing. I want that. And of course, what are they gonna do? Then go look and find somebody like randomly on Google? No. They're gonna come to you as the expert. It works almost every time.
Right.
And then the content that you derive from it is always spectacular.
Yeah, absolutely,
man. I'm brainstorming, just jotting down notes as I'm talking to you, and I know I gave you a heads up before, so kind of transitioning a little bit, like, that I'm now working a lot with like associations, nonprofits, stuff like that. I have ideas myself, but if you were kind of, if I came to you as a nonprofit or association, was like, man, I want to start creating some content, I want to do some of what you're doing, like, what would you do? Like, how would you approach that?
Oh, simple. Who are your customers? So who donates? You're a nonprofit. So who's donating to you? Cool. What is their story? Mm-hmm. What does their story look like? What's the path from like them being a regular person throughout their day to like the point where they're like, hey, I'm going to give you guys $200 or $20 or $2. Like what does that path look like? And then once you can map that out, okay, cool. Steve is the ideal client. Or maybe we have like Steve, we have Deborah, we have Stacy, and we have Nicole. They're all different people, and they're all different. They live in this city. They drive this type of car. They live in this type of house. They smell this way. I mean, like so much context, as much context as you can add in. And then from like a producing evergreen type of content, not just like, hey, we're going to make a Facebook ad that's going to target Steve. That's great. Hopefully you don't spend $20,000 on that and go over the top, because I don't think you need to anymore. But instead of that, and maybe you do that too, right? But instead of that, just have conversations with those people. Mm-hmm. Find a repeatable, scalable show type of thing that it doesn't have to be like you don't have to launch an official show. Like you don't have to say, hey, we're launching the show, but because you're like sitting down and cameras on, microphones are on, and you're just talking to people, talk to them for 30 minutes. And then in that 30 minutes, there's probably like at least 2 or 3 or 1 minute segments that are like, okay, that was cool when they said this and this and this and that. So then put that out there. But you have to go out there and film for 30, 60, 90 minutes at a time to be able to get the content that would actually like be bite-sized information that we can actually comprehend. Because there's a market segmentation that will watch my entire live show from beginning to end. They get notified, they're on, and they're watching the whole thing. There's another segment that, oh, Kyle's live again. They'll straggle in like, hey, it's 10 o'clock on a Wednesday, right? So we're already asking you to like not work and watch this thing. So I get it. But the people that they'll straggle in like 15 minutes later, they're like, hey, Kyle, what's up? They'll add a comment. Hey, great to see you live. And then they'll bounce, right?
Yeah.
And then because they're not watching that. But they might have appreciated what I was doing. So then later, after the 1.5 hour stream, sometimes it goes that long, after the 1.5 hour stream, then I chop that up into like little micro bits of information that you can watch whenever you want. And there it is. And then they'll dive into that. But like having a show is a content engine for like literally like if I had the capacity, if I were to hire somebody right now to help me, and I might be, if I were to hire somebody to like help me chop up the micro segments, I could literally have a piece of content go out every single day, multiple times a day on every single channel because of having a live show. Like that's the engine that creates everything else. And it's not created, it's just documented. Like it's just conversations that are documented live in front of an audience, which adds to that entertainment because somebody will ask a question or somebody will pull somebody in on video. We'll just pull you in on video and then boom, that just took the show a whole different direction by having you on video right now. That's just me. That's just my style.
No, I love it. It works. Do you limit the number of channels that you're distributing on?
No.
So you're putting it everywhere.
I taste everything, but I have a focus, right? My focus is LinkedIn. Yep. So I'm laser focused on LinkedIn, but I can't ignore everything else because if LinkedIn fell off the face of the earth tomorrow, where would I be?
Yeah. How are you
I would have made content for a platform that doesn't exist. Just hypothetically saying, I don't think that's gonna happen, but hypothetically speaking.
Yeah, no. So how are you doing that? Like, how much are you doing it yourself? Like taking the main piece of content and distributing it to all the other channels?
Yeah, I do that myself mainly. It's just waking up early.
Yep.
And getting spurts of like creative momentum. And whenever you're feeling it, like if I'm doing sales prospecting and I just hit a wall, I'm like, oh man, I called 6 people, no one answered. And that'd be a terrible prospecting example. It'd be like 600 people and no one answered. And I'll be like, whatever. I'm going to pivot right now. I can't do this anymore. And I feel like creating something. So I'll just go out there and I've gotten it down though. Like I've been doing it for so long that, I know my style. I know that I can take a 1-minute clip and I can make it into something. I could add art to it and make it look more appealing, add captions. I know I could do that in about 30 minutes flat. And then that could be for 3 different platforms. So, but I just have this form down. I have my procedure down on how to tackle that.
So cool, man. Do you use the content, like you said, prospecting? Are you still doing for your main business? Like, are you doing traditional prospecting and outreach and all that jazz?
Not as much as I believe that I still should be. I came from old school, like Death Star Corporation, sales mentality, consultative selling. So I feel like I'm going against my own grain because I'm a sales guy. I feel like, man, I should be like sending out like 6,000 cold emails and cold calling and knocking down. I feel like I should be, but then I'm not. I'm not doing that. And I feel happier not doing that. So now, like, I'll get referrals. I'll just take care of my clients, and then they'll be like, hey, Kyle, this other guy needs help, and I'll just jump in and help them. And by doing that, it's, and not everyone's at the place where they're getting, and I'm not getting a ton, right? But I get some referrals, and that helps me.
So have you found, is the content creation, what you're doing, is that increasing the referrals and the inbound leads? It's got to be obviously increasing inbound leads, but is that offsetting your
I haven't seen that yet, but I'm still super new in the live streaming. LinkedIn live streaming is still super new. So, but I'll never forget the very first video I ever made on YouTube. It was called 4 Reasons for SD-WAN. I since took it down because I'm kind of embarrassed of it, but I probably should have left it up. But that video had 200 views. I do not care about vanity metrics, but this is like the opposite. Like I'm showing you how bad it was. 200 views, right? But then Coca-Cola reached out to me.
Wow.
I did consulting for them. So like you don't need 2,000 views. You don't need 2 million views. You just need 1 view from the guy or gal who could be your customer.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting.
Cool.
Kyle, thanks, man. I'm gonna plug everything here. I'll make sure people follow you, and we both have to run. You have to run. That's a wrap.
Cool. Appreciate it,
I'll
man.
check with you later, man. Thanks for everything.
Appreciate it, man. Cheers.
Later.